What's up, everyone? Welcome into the All 22 NFL podcast, the official podcast of the All 22 Fantasy Football platform. It's the only fantasy football game with full 53-man rosters, which includes offensive linemen, where you get to choose personnel packages and have access to PFF grading and advanced stats to make decisions each week. To learn more and sign up, go to all-22.com, or just more simply, go download the app on the App Store, search all-22, and download the app. Ray, how we doing, buddy?
It's rookie draft season. It's officially rookie draft season. Final week of the preseason. So now everybody that's like scared and wants to wait and see like if anybody's leg falls off in the preseason before they schedule their draft. Well, got games coming up the next couple of days, and then that's it. Then it's like a 2-week wait for the season. So a lot of rookies drafts taking place. It's a great time of year. It's tons of fun. It's a little overwhelming, but it's all good stuff, man. Having a ton of fun.
Yeah, man. I had 2 startup drafts, which means like 53-round startup drafts, and then 1 rookie draft, all going on simultaneously, and it was so much fun. One of the startups is still going, and I'm loving every minute of it. I think it might be the best team I've ever drafted. I waited on quarterback. I went no quarterback, right? I had the 8th pick, got Micah Parsons in the first round, Penny Sewell in the second round, and I didn't take a quarterback until round 13, and I got Dak in round 13.
Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, oof.
So Dak in round 13 with Sewell and Parsons, like my team's pretty crazy. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
but
Cowboy quarterbacks are universally disrespected. But yeah, nobody cares about your fantasy team. It's in the intro. It's one of the rules.
I know. I messed up.
But we'll have an episode on startup draft strategy because that's also happening this time of year, right? But a lot of you are keen on your rookie drafts and your rookie draft strategy, and I think that's what we're here to talk about. So I think this week we came up with a list of our observations and through some of the data to see what are some rookie mistakes, no pun, a lot of you are making in your rookie draft. So let's talk about it. Chris, I know you had a bigger list than I did. So if you want to kick it off, what's one big mistake that you see users are making based on the data, based on ADPs, and based on just, how the chips are falling in these drafts? What are people doing wrong?
Yeah. And I want to be clear. I am not doing these things wrong. This is what I see users doing wrong. And people out there, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to make sure that I'm trying to make sure that you get it right the first time, right? And you don't have to learn like I did. Biggest mistake I'm seeing people make is taking corner early. Even if you like one, right? So even if you like Wiggins, Kool-Aid like I do, you have to remember that the position weight for corner has actually decreased in the last few years. And we're looking at the lowest weighted cornerback group that we've seen active in all 22 year, right? So the weight is lower than any previous year due to corners not getting paid as much. And why are corners not getting paid as much? It's because there's so much volatile play at the cornerback position that it's really hard to trust a guy to be a 90 graded player one year and then the next year perform at that same high level, right? That's not happening unless your name is Sauce Gardner right now. The days of Jalen Ramsey, I'm sorry, but they're probably in the rearview mirror. So it's Sauce Gardner or kind of bust at this point. So I don't think you should just decide that one of these guys is going to be the next Sauce Gardner. And in the first 1, 2, 3 rounds, you need to wait, right? Do not take a corner in those rounds. While this was a very deep corner class, there isn't that top guy. So again, if you like Wiggins, if you like Kool-Aid, try to get them in round 4. But if they're gone, just know that, just like me, we're not smarter than, the NFL teams. And there's a reason Terrion Arnold was taken first, or, Cooper DeJean was taken early second round, guys like that, right? Like, take one of them instead in the 5th round, right? Like, if one of those guys falls, right? So that's kind of my first just bit of advice is if you like one of these cornerbacks, just don't try to buy too high. Wait until at least round 4 to take them, because the weight isn't there yet, right? It's not there anymore. And also the players might not be Sauce Gardner. So it's better to wait.
Yeah, I think what's interesting and, not a surprise to the users, right? We founded the game. We started the game. We've been doing this for a few years now. We run in some different circles than most. And in one of the rookie drafts I pulled up, you're a part of this one, Chris. First corner off the board was round 2, pick 10, Quinyon Mitchell. So end of the second round, you're looking at, what is that, pick 20? I think this is 10 teams. So pick 20. So again, it resembles the first round of the NFL. And you probably shouldn't deviate too far off from that, right? Because like you said, there is no top guy. There is no Ramsey level prospect. There is no Surtain level prospect. There is no, when healthy, JC Horn level prospect or Stingley level prospect in this class. We like them. We don't love them. And so don't panic, and because you view corner as a premium position, it still is, even with the decrease in weight over time. I mean, it's still an important position, right? We're not talking running back or center here or something like that, but they're not bona fide sure things to where there's this huge delta between between corner number 1 and corner number 4, if that's Nate Wiggins, for example, right? So if you could get Nate Wiggins in the 4th round, you're really going to take Quinyon Mitchell 2 rounds earlier. Again, you're trying to find value in your rookie drafts, and you're reaching if you are taking a corner that early on, when again they're tiered pretty closely together, and you have a 2-round spread between corner 1 and corner 4 or 5. It's better, you're better off waiting.
You're exactly right. It's. And I'm going to talk about this more, so I don't want to say too much about it, because there are other strategies that I'd recommend you do in rounds 1 and 2 than go corner. So we're going to talk about that later. So I'm going to pause it there. But since I think you said you only have 3, right? So I'm going to do one more before we go back and forth, okay?
All right, put me on the spot. Okay, yeah, call me.
The other thing that I think I'm noticing people are unsure of, and this isn't necessarily a mistake, right? I'm not going to say this is a mistake, but I can tell you that nobody right now knows what Laiatu Latu is worth. Nobody knows what he's worth. I've seen him go as early as pick 3 and as late as mid-2nd round. So, I'm not saying this is a mistake, but based on the preseason film that we've seen so far, based on what his grading was in college, it does seem like he is a higher level prospect than even maybe we gave him credit for, right? When do we think that Latu should go in these rookie drafts? Personally, I'm thinking it should be somewhere between pick 6 and 12. And I'm probably leaning towards that higher side of that equation. But that's a big unknown right now in rookie drafts, is where is Latu?
That's why I don't have any shares of Latu, because I'm not taking him that high. It's not because I don't think he's a good player, but he's an older player with injuries. And if I'm drafting in the top 12 or so picks, whether it's because I'm in the mid to late 1st round or very early 1st, very early 2nd, I'm not taking a chance on that profile that early. I need to hit on those picks and try to minimize my risk. So that's probably why you just succinctly summed up why I don't have any Latu shares. So yeah, it comes down to A, risk tolerance, and B, your conviction on Latu as a player versus a Dallas Turner versus a Chop Robinson. You might think Chop Robinson is one-dimensional. He's got great get-off, but that's it. I don't think he's great against the run. I don't like the Dolphins, so you're not high on Chop Robinson. So in that case, if you want an edge rusher, you need an edge rusher, you want a great one, you have Latu that high and you feel that way about Chop, you go ahead and take Latu, then fine. Or if you think that Dallas Turner is pretty raw and take some time and you don't want to wait for that, or you think Latu's flat out better, then fine. But you have to be strong in your conviction on that. Don't just take Latu because he might be the first name up there at edge. If you're not willing to understand, because look at Jalen Phillips. I mean, he kind of came in he was another prospect that had medically retired in college and, came back, was a high, NFL pick and what have you. And it was looking great for a couple of years. It was looking great. And now, honestly, I think his career is essentially done. He's going to get snaps, everything, but the player we saw the last couple of years is gone. And that's something you ought to always have in the back of your mind when you take someone like Latu with his injury history, is, again, that body is not an actual, it's not a true 24 years old. There's some mileage there that you have to be wary of. So know your risk tolerance and, just understand exactly where you are on a player. If you are that convicted on him, or you're just looking for the top guy at a position, because those are two wildly different things.
Yeah. Okay. So give me one of yours now.
So kind of the inverse of what you were talking about with corner. One mistake I'm seeing people do is reach for a non-elite wide receiver. Okay. Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. are usually going in the top 6. I think the lowest I saw one of them go was 7 or 8, was the lowest. Then you have Odunze going around pick 9. A couple leagues, he slips maybe the very top of the second round, pick 13-ish or so, and that's about it. Then you have Brian Thomas kind of like mid to late second. And then you have Pearsall going in round 3, early round 4. If you miss out on Neighbors, Harrison, Odunze, don't take Ricky Pearsall in round 3 when you could get Adonai Mitchell in the end of round 5. That to me, again, we're talking value here. If you can get Adonai Mitchell in round 5, why take Pearsall in round 3? Let alone, even if you think he's a more surefire prospect, because we like Ricky Pearsall. We like him a lot, but he's an older rookie. His situation, we don't know what the hell's going on. It's the Michael Scott snip, snap gif when it comes to Brandon Ayuk and what everything is going to look like over there in San Francisco. What is he going to have the volume there? We know at least that Adonai Mitchell, the volume might not be consistent because of the style of the offense, but he's a big play type of guy. But we know what his role is going to be in that offense. We have no idea what Ricky Pearsall's role is going to be right now. And so for that, to take that 2 rounds earlier at the very least, than a player like a Mitchell, or even if you have Xavier Worthy slide a bit. People love Xavier Worthy on this platform, by the way. He's going a lot higher. But I don't see the value in taking a guy like that with one of your top 3 picks when you can get Mitchell or Keon Coleman or Xavier Legette in round 5. To me, you're just much better off waiting.
Well, there's also now supposedly injury concerns about his shoulder. That's something that came out, I think, yesterday or today. And I agree with you. I think that's a great take. I think there's even guys like Jalen Polk where maybe Jalen Polk isn't the high-level prospect that we think Ricky Pearsall could be, or Lad McConkey, right? You forgot about Lad. But this platform is about picking the best fundamental receiver, right? Who every single play is going to show out. I don't think Xavier Legette or Keon Coleman are those types of receivers where, at least early on in their career, right, they're probably not going to have these extremely high PFF grades because there's going to be some hit and miss plays for them. There's going to be drop passes. There's going to be bad routes run, whatever it might be. But Jalen Polk might be pretty consistent as a route runner and getting open, right, and creating separation, where there might be value in him in like round 6. And I've seen him fall. I've seen Jalen Polk fall. So there was one league he didn't get drafted, right? So like that's what I'm talking about. So I completely agree with you. And I'm actually going to say the exact same thing, but at the tackle position. So we are in a rookie draft together, Ray and I decided to take J.C. Latham. I think it was pick 9. Next round comes around, and I did need tackle depth, and Troy Fautanu was there as well. So I picked him, right? So just for context, there was 8 first-round tackles taken in the NFL draft, and I decided to take one in the first round. I truly think there's only one elite tackle in this draft, and that's Joe Alt, right? So what I learned, and what I would, say that I've seen this mistake all over the place. Why are you going to take anybody besides Joe Alt in the first round, maybe not even in the second round, when Tyler Guyton is going in like the 5th round, 4th or 5th round, right? Tyler Guyton is having a fantastic preseason. Remember, he's being coached by some of the best offensive lineman coaches in the world in Dallas. So why are we so sure that a J.C. Latham at pick 8 overall is more valuable than 5th round Tyler Guyton or Jordan Morgan or whoever it is, right? Whoever you buy into as the first round tackles, even though I understand Jordan Morgan won't be a tackle in the future. So I learned from that mistake, and I would highly say that for you too, is I think that when you're in the first round, you need to understand depth at positions. And Ray and I both identified those 2 positions as tackle and receiver are probably the deepest positions in the rookie drafts that we're seeing. So if you're not getting Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, or Joe Alt, wait, right? So that probably means if you're outside of pick 6, you're not getting one of those guys. You're not getting Caleb Williams. You're probably not getting Jaden Daniels. So that's going to lead to one of my other points that I'll just kind of go into. It's that when Drake May is there at pick 7, that's a much more valuable risk to take than getting J.C. Latham at pick 7, right? And that's a mistake again. I think I've seen 10 times already. People taking those those middle of the pack offensive linemen, people taking Rome Odunze or Xavier Worthy, whoever it might be, over taking a Drake May or even JJ McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix, right? Remember, Bo Nix will earn you 4.83% per week more than your receiver will, Rome Odunze, right? So if you're taking a risk on Rome because you think his upside is better than Bo Nix's, you better hope that it's 4.83% a week better than Bo Nix's, right? So that's the point I want to make. These quarterbacks, I understand maybe you weren't as bought into some of them as others, but what we're telling you is you can get a really good receiver in round 3 or 4. You could get a really good tackle in round 2 or 3, and you could get your quarterback in the first round, even if you already have one. Remember, you have bye weeks. Remember, guys get hurt. With this new 17-game schedule, quarterbacks are getting hurt at a higher rate than ever in the history of the NFL. They're talking about making the NFL 18 weeks soon. That number will only go up. You will need 2 really good quarterbacks. If you don't have 2, take a risk on Bo Nix. Take a risk on Michael Penix. Take a risk on JJ McCarthy, because the value's there in the first round on a quarterback more than it is on a fringe, top prospect like Xavier Worthy, like Rome Odunze, like JC Latham.
This brings me back to my old arch nemesis, the age-old battle between what I think and what other smart people seem to think with their actions. I talked about this with we talked about this. We watched Trey Lance as a prospect in college and said, nah, I don't get it. I don't really see it. I don't see what's going on. What's the big deal? Like, his teammates love him. That's great. His teammates seem to love him. That's one thing, but I don't really see what the hype's all about. Then the 49ers gave up 3 first-round picks to draft Trey Lance. And if there's one offensive mind that I respect on this planet, it's Kyle Shanahan. Now, whether it was Shanahan, whether it was Elway, who knows for sure. But I was like, well, gee, if it's good enough for Shanahan, I guess it's good enough for me. And I had some Trey Lance shares his rookie season, and those obviously did not pan out. I'm starting to see the same exact thing with Bo Nix, to where I'm like, yeah, I don't really get it. Bo Nix, I don't think he's that great. The offense was really nice and easy, and he kind of played on rookie mode in Oregon in college. Like, I get it. He was, got better with experience, but I don't really know. But he's Sean Payton's guy. He's been Sean Payton's guy. He's going to be the starter. He's looked fine in preseason. So is it my priors or is it what I'm seeing now? And that's something, again, you just sort of throw into the equation here. And like you said, when you consider the value you can get elsewhere, if you don't reach for those other positions outside of quarterback, like receiver, like corner, like tackle, you have the opportunity to take a shot on one of these quarterbacks, even if you miss out on Caleb and Daniels, and reap the benefits. My quarterback room is Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson, and Jordan Love. I've had to start each and every one of them at separate times because of injuries. We've seen Jackson miss some games. Trevor Lawrence was in a disaster under Urban Meyer, and things are kind of slowly turning around there. And Jordan Love really turned it on late. So I like my quarterback room, but you kind of have to take those shots in order to get your room to that point. And that's what these shots look like. You're not always going to be able to take Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels. You have to take these shots where you see a quarterback that has a potential fit in the NFL and just kind of observe and see if things are trending in the right direction. For someone like Bo Nix, it appears to be. So I think it's a good call out where back half of round 1 might be the better bet, since you can get value elsewhere later on.
And if you're not doing that, I think we always say this, trade out, right? Make a trade with somebody, get a second and a fourth to move out of the first, right? Like, you can do things like that for a team that's hungry to get their quarterback. Let somebody do that, right? Or let somebody come up and take the risk on Rome so that you get the quarterback in the second round. You know what I mean? Like, find the value. You need to find the value. But Ray, I only have one left, so I want you to go ahead and do your next one.
I'm not sure how far to take this one. So I'm going to start with the first part of this, and then we'll talk about the extreme of this, if you will. Taking a linebacker before round 4, just don't do it. It's a crapshoot as it is. The position is a crapshoot. Even the best of the best outside of like Fred Warner, are just attacked every single week. They have volatile grading because of the design of offenses in the NFL today. So it's already super variable. But Peyton Wilson and Edgerrin Cooper are going in rounds like 5, mid 4, early 5th. The earliest I typically see for any linebacker is Edgerrin Cooper around mid round 4. So for the most part, people are doing the right thing. But what I notice overall is there's just not much separation between any of the linebackers, whether it's Edge Cooper, Peyton Wilson, Maris Lufau, Junior Colson. You don't know. There's no way of really knowing how that position is going to shake out. There just isn't. Even if we went through this during our pre-draft series, we love Peyton Wilson's film the best, or at least I did. I'll say that. I love Peyton Wilson and Edge Cooper's film the best. But Peyton Wilson has injury concerns. He has a long list of injury history. I think he doesn't have an ACL or something like that. Edgerrin Cooper's been in and out with like a hip or groin type of thing throughout the summer too. So I don't typically like it when linebackers fall behind the 8 ball to start their careers. That's usually not a good sign either. But if those are your top 2 prospects, again, there's some risk with them. And then there's just everybody else. And I sit here and I talked about how Cowboys seem to really like Maris Lufau, but it's still a linebacker that's not special. We're talking about a 3rd round pick in the NFL. So don't take one early, even if it's your biggest need, because quite frankly, you might look at your roster and go, ooh, I really need a linebacker. Guess what? There's like 7 other teams thinking the exact same thing because there just aren't many good ones and really not many consistently good ones in the NFL. So you're not alone in that boat. Don't pull the trigger early as a result of that because you can wait on these guys because the separation is just not there. So around late round 4, early round 5 is where we typically start to see that run. I don't really think you want to be the first one to start that run.
So I wasn't going to let you finish that by insulting Demario Davis like you did. There are more than Fred Warner that are consistent week to week.
You could take a 58-year-old linebacker. You can.
But now I'm going to defend you by saying even Demario Davis took 5 years of bad play before he had good play. So just for context, Demario Davis, rookie year, 58 grade, his second year, 52.7, third year, 62.4, fourth year, 52.5. It wasn't until his 6th year that he reached the 70 grading. And then his 9th year did he get into the 90s, right? And now he's been consistently one of the best linebackers in the NFL. The linebacker's hard, and it takes a lot of time for these guys to settle their feet, similar to how tight ends are, right? You draft these tight ends super early, and a lot of times you're disappointed because they don't really meet expectations. It's years in between when you get a Sam Laporta that enters the league and does really well. And even a tight end, right? You get a Sam Laporta. Look at Evan Ingram. Look at Kyle Pitts' rookie year. A lot of times their sophomore year don't live up to the expectation. Linebacker's kind of the same thing. It's like these guys don't hit very often. And a lot of times when it does, it's like a 5th round or undrafted rookie, Ivan Pace Jr., right? Like these guys come out of nowhere and have good rookie seasons, but it's likely not the 1st round pick that you wanted to hit, right? Jack Campbell is my guy, but I knew investing in him that it was going to take 3 to 5 years before I really reaped the returns on that. So Ray's completely right. Wait on the linebackers until rounds 4 or 5. But if you absolutely love one, 5 is probably when you should take them. Otherwise, what we would recommend is go check out your free agent pool and find the guy that's now in a situation where he's let the dust settle a little bit under his feet. He's got his feet on the ground. He's learned the position, and maybe you see some like slight year-over-year improvement, and you're like, you know what? Last year he reached 65. The year before was 62. I'm going to say next year he's a 70, right? And if he's a 70, he's a top 12 linebacker in the NFL. So like that's what you need to do at linebacker. Ray, I'm going to ask you to go again because I think mine will wrap things up pretty nice.
All right. Yeah. So my last one is very player specific.
Okay. Mine is
Don't wait too long on Graham Barton.
Ooh, I like that.
Graham Barton is going mid round 2. So you might think, I'll wait till 3rd round interior offensive line. It's not that highly regarded. You got to get him with your first 2 picks. And the reason being, if you expand upon that a little bit, is even the top interior offensive linemen in this class outside of Graham Barton, even with Graham Barton for that matter. He's got some injuries in his history as well. They all have some sort of question mark, right? Powers Johnson, he might be playing guard instead of center. So depending on what you need there, again, you need a center. Well, you might have just drafted a guard if you took Powers Johnson. Cooper Beebe looks like he's going to settle in at center in Dallas. But again, they like Brock Hoffman. He's a veteran, yada, yada. If Cooper Beebe doesn't immediately take that center position this year, he might end up at guard backing up or replacing rather Zach Martin if he retires after this season. So there's some position uncertainty with Powers Johnson, Cooper Beebe. Zach Frazier has injury histories of his own coming off of that broken leg and what have you. So there's always something going on with the interior linemen in this class. And there's even a little something going on with Graham Barton, but he seems to be the sure thing on the interior offensive line. And he's getting snatched up in the middle of the second round. So if you're thinking that you can wait until the third round to get your guy and Graham Barton's your guy, you're not going to be able to swing it. He's going pretty early in these drafts, mid-round 2, and he's gone after that. So maybe with that in mind, if you're at the top of the second round, you think it's a bit too early and, pick 13 to take an interior lineman there. You trade back a couple spots if you want to, get clever and try to get a little something there. But outside of that, do not wait if that's your guy, because he's going earlier than you think. He is the one at that spot that people have identified and are getting early. Everybody else you can kind of wait a bit on, but they have some sort of question mark.
Man, let me tell you, I've been loving this preseason and seeing that for the first time in our history of all 22, we have a really good interior offensive line class, like really special, really good. There's a bunch of guys that every week are making highlights that I'll tell you, we haven't had one of those guys in a few years, right? It's far and few between. But you're right about Barton, where he seems special, right? Like I think you can say the same about Zach in Pittsburgh, but Barton really looks special in the way that he's been playing the game. You're seeing second level blocks happening for him, where he's taking on two guys and getting to the second level, making plays down the field, opening up these crazy lanes. And that's hard to come by, especially as a rookie. As a Packer fan, it's super frustrating when, we drafted a guy that played tackle, but we wanted the positional flexibility. But it's like,
he might be good.
He might. But like, what if we just got one guy that was definitely good, right? Like, that's what's frustrating about it. And Graham Barton is definitely that guy. Loving what he's doing. And that's a great call out. When would you suggest people take him? Like, when is it worth it?
Pick 14. Pick 14 is about that line. Yeah. Wow. That's earlier than you think. It's and I get it, interior offensive line, but again, supply and demand. There haven't been that many in recent years to come out. So you could take another one in the third. You could take Zach Frazier in the third. He'll probably be there mid-third. That's around the spot he's going. But is he that level of prospect like Graham Barton? And if so, again, there's injury history there too. So just know what you're getting. But if you want the guy, if you are sick and tired of subpar, interior line play, and you want one that you can take and just start every week and then sleep at night, don't wait, because he's not going to be there round 3. Yeah.
Like if you think he's going to be in the world of Creed Humphrey and Tyler Linderbaum, you definitely take that player with the 14th overall pick. So I agree with you. I think that's a great spot for him. So I'm going to wrap things up with my take. And it's really just, what does the perfect draft strategy in a rookie draft look like? And I think it really does revolve around one player. We're both seeing, right? It's like the top quarterbacks are coming off, the 2 receivers, the Joe Alt, and then it's kind of a mosh pit of everybody else. And we just said this draft is super deep at receiver. It's really deep at quarterback, and it's really deep at tackle. But there's only one Byron Murphy right now at the defensive interior position. There's only one defensive interior that I would say is in that conversation of elite prospect. And the Seahawks knew that when they took him, I think it was pick 15, something like that, right? And so far in preseason, he looks phenomenal. This dude looks like he's quicker and more powerful than anybody thought he was going to be. And he's showing that on film. Byron Murphy is available at the end of the first round, and I've actually got him at pick 16. So this guy is in some drafts falling. my recommendation is, since there's only one, go get him, right? So I would say anywhere between pick 7 and 10 is a great spot to get Byron Murphy. And then in the second round, you get your top tackle, right? Because there's plenty of them that will be there. And when you do that, you've literally just taken care of two of the most valuable positions in the NFL. But not only that, they're two of the ones that, when you see it in college, it translates pretty well to the NFL. So you kind of, I'm not saying you know what you have, because that's never really the case, but you know more than if you drafted a receiver or quarterback, yada, yada. So I'm going Byron Murphy. I'm going tackle in the second round. And then the third, fourth round, that's when I'm going receiver. I'm going corner. And God forbid one of the quarterbacks fall, I'm taking them second, third round, right? But in my mind, that's where the value is in an all-22 rookie draft right now. It's Byron Murphy in the first. It's get your tackle in the second, get your receiver in your third, and then get your corner in the fourth. And you'll walk away from that draft feeling really good about yourself.
As much as I love Jerzon Newton, I think Jerzon Newton's phenomenal. Byron Murphy is the biggest delta in this class. I'm putting quarterback aside because I think Caleb Williams is the top guy for sure, bar none. Putting quarterback aside, Byron Murphy is the number one guy by the biggest margin at his position compared to everybody else. You know, Harrison and Neighbors, you can go back and forth. Then you have a Dunze kind of there as like a high tier 2. We talked about tackle, even Alt's a top guy, but you have Olu, you have Latham, you have guys that are there that are high tier 2 type guys. Defensive interior, Murphy's just, man, he's just on his own tier. And then, I like Newton, but can he be a game breaker in the NFL? I'm not quite sure of that yet. Whereas Murphy's got the floor and the ceiling. He is high floor plus high ceiling type of player, and he looks the part. I mean, he's moving so well. He's had a good training camp. Brian Murphy's the number one guy. Only thing I might change there is I would maybe go my corner in round 3 versus a receiver.
Okay.
Because again, I kind of like some of the guys, and this is where you can kind of put in your personal preference at this point there and kind of see what you like more than others. Because to me, I like some of the guys available in that 5th round area. I've mentioned Mitchell's name a lot, but again, if there's one receiver at that point that I think can be a game breaker in the NFL throughout his career, it could be Mitchell. He's got that ability once you take away the top 3 receivers plus like a Brian Thomas Jr. or something. You mentioned how Polk is going to grade well. He's going to be consistent. But potential game breaker, you might have that in Adonai Mitchell. And if you can get that in round 5, or if not, you still have some names around there depending on if McConkey falls or Leggett or something like that. There's some guys there. Whereas corner, we both know I'm very picky about that position. I'll take my guy there in the 3rd and risk not losing him in the 4th. But pay attention to that supply and demand, because Byron Murphy's the guy, and defensive interior is a position where it's not that many that come out like he does. I mean, we had it, last year with Jalen Carter, but prior to that, it had been a little bit, and it might be a little bit again here moving forward. So
in comparison to there being 3 receivers in every draft and 3 tackles in every draft, there's not that a defensive interior.
Exactly. And running back, just take one in the 7th, or just pick one up. This ain't the class to fit them in your plans for the draft. This isn't it.
No. And you're right about corner too, is like, if you like your guy, get him in the 3rd. But what I actually found is you could get a guy in the 7th that's, maybe not a top guy, but you feel good about, right? Like Kamari Lassiter is lasting that long in some drafts.
Lassiter and Melton are my late round guys.
Yeah,
Lassiter and
they're dudes. But that's it. That's what we got for you today, everyone. I hope you liked it. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't yet, please give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. X. That's the one I think I always miss. At all22_PFF. And give us a review wherever you watch or listen to your podcast. Have a great day.